Hello everybody, I'm Gwen Campbell-Mindes. Welcome to Gwen's Bookish Ramblings. And today we are talking about Embraced by Magic, How to Love Your Elf, another book in the Embraced by Magic series. Yes, we have skipped one because my library doesn't have that, so I guess that's just going to have to be a mystery forever and ever and ever. And you will notice how different this cover is. There's a new publisher, of course, from the original publisher, but also this book cover looks like it belongs to a YA fantasy novel, as opposed to the original cover, which looked like it belonged to an adult romance novel. This only re-emphasizes my confusion, because despite the turn of phrase that you should never judge a book by its cover, that's the whole reason covers are used in this way. Because covers are really, really good at times at shorthanding for you what the contents of a book are. And it's not 100%, but the fact of the matter is you can usually shorthand the kind of book a book is by what kind of cover they've given it. And in this case, this is a YA novel cover, and by gum, these do read like YA novels. This is Sorcha. I mean, she's supposed to be Scottish, but, anyway, I have no idea whether that's supposed to be a CH as a hard C, or if that's supposed to be pronounced as a ch sound. But in any event, she's the redhead out of the collection of 5 young women from the convent, and she found out that she was a princess in a prior book, and like her sisters, has gone from being a girl living in a convent to being a young woman living in a castle, with people trying to teach her how to be a princess, which she is only intermittently good at. Anyways, she decides at the start of this book to forever swear off love, because she gets way, way too upset when somebody she loves is in danger, and she just doesn't want to deal with that, so she's decided she's never ever going to fall in love, and then promptly spends half the book wibbling on at herself about the fact that she shouldn't be falling in love with the guy she's falling in love with, because he's not the guy that was depicted on the telling stone. They have these magic stones that predict the future. Like, you'll remember when I talked about the second book, where Brigida is like, I'm recording these out of order. I may not remember to record the second video. Record this in the second video, so who knows, but I've read these books out of order, so there you go. They're going to be published in the order of publication, but not in the order of recording or in the order of reading the books. Who knew? You have this thing with Brigida, who kept on rolling these telling stones where she pulls out the stones that are in the color of the country, and with like numbers to indicate number of suitors and a number of months until this happens. And what she finds is, after that, every single time she pulls the stones out, it's exactly the same, except the month number keeps going down. It's like 1 month later we play the stones and everything's the same, except instead of an 8 it's a 7, and then we play them again a month later and everything's the same, except the 7 is now a 6. And like when they play it again, it's like, and now there's a 1. So the magic future telling stones really, really work, and so Sorcha basically, upon finding out that her, men she's going to fall in love with is going to have X and Y set of characteristics, and she's like, I'm falling in love with this elf, but he doesn't match all the characteristics, so he can't be the right guy, so I shouldn't be falling in love with him. And it's like, but you didn't want to fall in love with anybody anyway, so what does that have to do with it? Logic is not really strong in these books. Also, apparently, none of her sisters have bothered to teach her about sex in the past 3 books, which just continues to amuse me, because, like, in the very first book, she has no idea, like, Luciana from the first book has no idea what sex is, And it's like, it's books and books later, and several of these queens have gotten married and have children and are having children, and it's like, you haven't told the others about this sex thing, which might have made your lives easier to know about it in advance. Why is nobody explaining this? It's weird. Anyway, so Sarcha goes on adventures, and elves in this are not like the human kingdoms think of them as bad because the elves keep blowing across the border, ravaging cities and killing people, and then just wandering back across their border, and like, they're not invading and they're not taking stuff, they're just going there, killing people, and then retreating, and the humans are like, what? This is so irrational. They don't seem to have any reason for what they're doing aside from just being jerks, and so, not surprisingly, elves have a general reputation of being jerks because they just kind of go, and then they kill people, and then they go away. And it's like, why are you doing this? And nobody answers. Anyway, so Sarcha winds up getting stuck on the elvish side of the border because her sister Gwenor is half-elf, and Gwenor gets a letter from her mother and wants to, finally meet her and stuff, and then they get attacked, and Sarcha gets separated and, meets up with the elf that she falls in love with, yada yada. But it turns out that the elves are having a rather complicated political situation where the river elves are basically abusing the wood elves and making the wood elves be in their armies, and they're sending their armies across the border to attack humans because reasons, but also it turns out that elves, when they die, get absorbed by trees, and that all of the oak trees in the elven forest are actually people. And the elves keep getting angry at the humans for doing things like chopping down oak trees, because it's like, you've basically killed a person. But apparently they never thought to actually tell the humans they were doing this. There's this whole thing of, there's this whole thing at the end where everybody's like, whoa, so those trees are all people? And they're like, yeah, that's why we keep running across your border. It's vengeance. It's like, well, you could have, told somebody instead of just going, you murdered our people. And it's like, no, we didn't. We chopped down a tree because it's a tree. This is what you do with trees. You chop them down and turn them into firewood. I'm watching you chop down a tree right now. Why are you mad? And, so this is one of those irrational things where it's like, this might actually have been resolved if they had just sent somebody to the villages on the border and said, hey, look, the oak trees are sacred. If you don't want to tell people that the oaks are actually, elf spirits or something, fine. All you have to do is say, don't chop down the oak trees. You can chop down everything else, but not these trees. And if you don't chop those down, we will not come across the border and kill you. And, that might actually solve the problem, but heavens forfend we approach this remotely logically. Anyway, so Sarcha spends the entire book flailing about the fact that she doesn't want to fall in love because she gets upset when people she cares about are in danger, and not using her ability to set things on fire in any really interesting way. Her magic superpower is, Pyro from the X-Men. She can set stuff on fire, but it's kind of okay, but you didn't learn to use it, and you didn't learn to control it, and now you can't properly control stuff. And she doesn't do nearly enough burning down of things, which would have been way better. But, what can you do? So, again, this is fun. It's dopey. Sarcha is really, really dopey, especially when she's agonizing about the fact that she's falling in love with the wrong man, but also doesn't want to fall in love. It all feels really, really dopey and really, really adolescent, but I had a good time reading it. So, as I have said previously, not for somebody who wants great writing, not for somebody who wants deep thoughts. This is, if you like romance stuff, if you like teenagery writing, if you like high romance, and if you like goofy, over-the-top fun, this is great. But not if you want anything else. So I actually have less to say because I didn't like this as much as the first book, but, again, it's a good time. Not a great time, not a transcendent time, but it's fun. And I think that's basically all I have to say on this, so I guess that's everything, and I will see you all next week.